Kick this thing off, and we are live. Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, and today I'm hanging out with Keith Hershey, and we are going to be talking about terrain and minis and D&D and all that good stuff. For nerds, by nerds, and today I'm hanging out with and Keith Hershey. Hear myself. And we're going to be talking about terrain and minis and D&D and all that good stuff. The mute, forgot the mutes. Anyway, so we will be talking about terrain and minis and all that good stuff, as you just heard again. And Keith, actually, we've been friends on Facebook for a while, and I've bumped against you, but I didn't realize that you did all the cool stuff with terrain. And so Zach had pointed it out again.
Oh, okay.
So the one of the blessings and curses of Nerdarchy is all the awesome people we get to meet. So sometimes I kind of lose things in the shuffle.
Oh yeah.
So you guys, you're working with Frog Games on their Mega Dungeon.
Yep. Yeah, the Mega Dungeon Rapinathic 5e coming to Kickstarter later this year or early next year. That I am.
They're gonna that's gonna be a Kickstarter too?
Yeah, that it will be.
Oh my god, I don't even want to know what it would cost to get that done, to have that dungeon. Now, like they're taking that around with them at shows, at conventions, but that's only one level, right?
Yeah, it's currently only one level, possibly more in the future, depending on how things go. But yeah, so far it's just one level. It's the 1C Mouth of Doom. It's kind of the lowest level entry into that mega dungeon.
So when they do the Kickstarter, is it for the whole dungeon?
So their Kickstarter is going to be a 5e version of it. It will be for the entire dungeon. We will be offering at some higher levels to get a 3D printed version of this particular level that I'm making for them as well. So you'll be able to get that printed out, or get the file pack to print it off yourself.
And how many printers did you guys have going to make this thing happen?
I had 4, and then Zach was also printing a few tiles out on his printer. So we actually had 5 printers going towards the end of the project to make it happen.
Like around the clock, right?
Yep, around the clock.
So how many pieces is that? Do you know?
It's like 698 pieces. I believe that's the correct number.
That's pretty awesome. So one of the things about 3D printing now and terrain is it's definitely bringing the cost down, and now making it more accessible to other people. I mean, because there's a lot of really great channels out there for the do-it-yourselfers, like DM Scotty and DMG Info, Gareth. So, but for some of us, we shouldn't be left alone with hot glue guns and X-Acto knives. So like this is a really good answer. So when you got started with terrain, was it the old school building stuff, like the 2D style, or?
I actually got started with Hearst Arts, casting the bricks and gluing them all together. And then when I started seeing the 3D models come out for the buildings, I jumped on that. But yeah, in the beginning, it was kind of a 2D version of it. And as I've been going, some of the games I'm involved in have been integrating and making it more of a 3D style. And definitely the younger kids and the younger generation, they love that terrain. They love interacting with it and seeing, all the monsters up the stairs. And
do you make your own minis as well?
I've printed a few out. I'm not quite happy with the quality just on a regular filament printer, although I've I'm getting ready to start working with a new nozzle that I'm hearing great success from Tom Tullis with Fat Dragon. So I'm going to start printing some of those out. We'll see. But currently, with the standard nozzles that come on the regular printers, the quality isn't there yet. But there's some new things coming out here in the next week or two that people will be able to get their hands on to actually start making some of their own minis on a regular printer. So that'll be cool to see.
Yeah, I'm really kind of like surprised and fascinated by the terrain and 3D printing community, because I see a lot of these companies that are actually making the files and stuff, and they're letting other people print their stuff, which kind of surprised me a bit. I'm like, how do they even make any money?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, there's a lot of time involved in coming up with those designs. But as more and more people obviously get on board and get their hands on those files or buy those files, it makes the cost doable. And now some of those companies like Fat Dragon and Printable Scenery, Rocket Pig Games are now opening up licenses for people like us to print out those files for people that don't actually have a 3D printer or don't want to get a 3D printer.
Yeah, and that's really cool. I mean, you see tons of like shops like yours opening up, and on Etsy, and even a friend of the show. If you've seen our videos, we put this little like Nerdarchy sign out. He made 3D printed that and did some laser cutting for us. So he also partners with Fat Dragon as well. So it is definitely changing the way the game can be played. And I say that so often on this show, and a lot of times I'm talking about the technology as far as streaming and interacting with other people across the world. But this is an example of how the game is changing, and it can change right at our own tables, with in-person gaming in groups. So so we're advancing all over the place when it comes to gaming. So I also saw you're going to be a Gamehole, right? Or
yeah, Gamehole Con. Yep, this November 1st through the 4th, I'll be there, and the 3D printed level of Rappanathic that I printed out will also be there and be played on.
So will you be running any games there? Are you working with Frog God out there?
I'll be working with them to help set up the table and whatnot. I just basically decided last night, actually, that I am going. So it's kind of last minute. So now I'm like, okay, I got to, see if I can get in some games, see who all's going, hang out with. So I don't know. It really just, I guess, hinges on what my schedule's going to end up being. I'll probably know better towards the end of the weekend, and see if there is any room to run any more games. I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I'm sure there's always room for running more games. Next level 88. I'm assembling Fat Dragon paper terrain as I listen to this. Your people, they're out there.
Cool. Right on.
So you've pretty much probably used terrain in your games for a while now.
Yeah, well, pretty much I grew up with some type of terrain, even though it was 2D. When my dad introduced me to D&D back in 1982, he had the plastic, I think they were Grenadier miniatures, and he had the floor tiles by Heritage USA called Dungeon Floors. So we had terrain back then. So I grew up, from the get-go with that kind of stuff. So there was a time when I was doing second edition where I didn't have access to any terrain. But yeah, definitely when I game anymore, I pretty much have some type of terrain out there.
So do you game at your place, or do you have a whole set up a rig to travel with?
Actually, I don't have a game at my house. I live in a pretty rural area. There's not very many people here. My gaming group is in Alamosa, Colorado, which is about a 45-minute drive from my house. And what I do is I actually took my gaming table I built. I leave it down there for all the guys to play on. And I have cabinets, and I leave a bunch of my terrain down there. So I'm not having to shuffle it back and forth. So when I am there, I usually just bring the new stuff I have and set up down there and play.
So you have the role-playing terrain satellite location.
Yeah, exactly. At the gaming store. So it's awesome.
And I'm sure they love having that stuff there too.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a draw when I got all that terrain set up. It definitely draws the new players in.
Well, I can only imagine. I'm actually going to pop onto your site here now to show off some of show off some of the stuff you got. So, do you do the painting, or do you have someone else do the painting?
I do some of the painting. Most of my painting, I actually have a deal I work out with my buddy Brad Smith. I usually will work something out with him, and he'll paint up some of the stuff for me too. Just trying to keep up on everything. Sometimes I don't have time to paint my own stuff, so I usually send that off to Brad when I'm running up against deadlines where I can't paint myself.
Gotcha. So there's definitely a lot of fantastic stuff here, and I'm loving the water and the waterfalls.
Yeah. Now, some of the pictures there are also stock images from Printable Scenery, but there is a lot in there I've done myself or Brad's painted. There's a couple new ones that were sent in by one of my new customers who did some little trays for his Warhammer game, and he included the little gnarly trees in there, which was cool.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Right there.
Yeah, it's the one that's got like the nymphs or pixies right there in the beginning. Yeah,
that's so cool. Yeah. I like I said, we were talking before we got started, and I'm like, I love all this stuff, but I like want to be the player in these games. I would not want to be the DM, having to finagle all this. Because you said, like you said, it takes hours to set up.
That it does. It takes time to set up a really cool scene, and it takes a lot of time to print. That's the bad thing about 3D printing is it takes a long time to get the stuff printed. But if you got printers and you're able to work it in your schedule, you just keep them going 24/7.
Yeah, I imagine so. So do you have like a top seller? What is the thing that most people is looking to get?
Right now, my top seller is actually it's Aztec ruins. It's like a little tiny step pyramid with some ruined pillars and whatnot. Those have been selling like hotcakes for the new Tome of Annihilation module that just released from WotC. A lot of people are getting that. And also a lot of people are getting the, cemetery trees, tombstones, and whatnot for their Halloween games.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I imagine with Halloween coming, there's going to be an uptick in that stuff. Do you have a personal favorite?
Wow. There's so many things. So many files that I have, and I haven't had a chance to print everything out. But it's cool when something comes up that I see that I'm like, oh, that does look cool when I finally get an order for it and I print it out. I'd have to say the new Rampage tiles from Printable Scenery right now. I'm trying to put together some castle kits with that. Those you could really make some awesome castles with those sets. there's just so many. There's thousands of tiles that all work together with that Rampage system.
Oh, you guys only saw the logo. You didn't see all the. That's
oh
weird.
no.
I didn't see because I was looking. They're saying that all they saw was the logo.
Gotcha.
Say it ain't so. I'll try again, guys. And so it says it's sharing.
Hopefully it is.
We'll see. We'll see. Dave has been compromised. The machines have taken over. Lock up your toasters.
Uh-oh.
So I'll keep the chat so we can see. Still nope, huh?
No, just the logo. Yeah.
Is that what you're saying too?
Yeah.
That is really odd. Let's see. What if we do this? And right now it's just showing black, right? What about now? That's weird. Usually I don't have a problem sharing stuff.
Wow, that is weird.
That's a nice logo though. Well, guys, there is a link. There is a link in the description as always, so you guys can go check out all the cool terrain. So do you have like a one memory that's kind of like stuck with you from doing all the terrain stuff? Like maybe, like I imagine like the reaction from kids is probably like got to be one of the best.
It is. I did set up. I actually used a combination of. I tried out the Rain Studios their Terra tiles one time, and I took my 3D printed trees that I put flock and clump foliage on, and I put that on those tiles, and they were pretty blown away by that. That was a pretty good memory. Also, when I did Death House down at my local Hobbytown store, the dungeon level down below, I have a custom table I built that's 4 foot by 8 foot, and I filled that thing up, creating that dungeon. And I had people coming in the store; they were seeing what we were playing, coming out, checking out. I had a huge crowd. I had so many people joining back then. I had like 21 people, and I was like, come on, we need more DMs. I can't keep running it with this many people. Eventually, we did get, we broke up into a bunch of different groups. I finally was able to get some DMs, but man, we had some huge crowds for that Death House dungeon when I did that.
And that was the one that went with the Curse of Strahd, right?
Correct. Yeah. It's the one in the back of the book, and the one that also was given out as a free thing to get it rolling.
Yeah. There was I believe there was a PDF download of that. So, did you happen to run that around Halloween?
No, it wasn't. I didn't run it at Halloween. I ran it when it first came out. Yeah, didn't get a chance to run it for Halloween. I've been wanting to go back and actually 3D print up the Death House itself using like some of Fat Dragon's new modular tiles, which it's still on my list of projects to do. Hopefully I'll get there.
So do you just print or do you design any of your own stuff as well?
I just print. I don't have the knowledge to design, although it's something I'm looking into doing. To get going. Yeah, my doggy's got to come see what's going on too.
I see your assistant there. What would a live chat be without a little dog snaz?
That's right.
we actually recently had to put a chocolate lab down, but
Oh,
yeah. Well, he was old. He was 13, so his and we were lucky though. Like he went like that, so it wasn't like a slow, which I was a little concerned about because we got to the point where we had to help him in and out of the house. And we let
mm-hmm.
him out. The back hips were going,
Oh,
but
gotcha.
other than that, he was kind of doing all right. Like he could like half see, but but then it was like a 4-day like descent, and we just had to go take him. And finally, it was like time.
Yeah,
So
gotcha.
we're taking a break from dogs for now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can hear that.
Puppies are a lot of work.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah. So now he sits on the mantle. We miss our little buddy, but well, he wasn't really little. It was like 100 pounds, probably like the size of your dog.
Sounds like it. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
pretty big.
yeah. So you usually play or usually run? It sounds like you're probably a GM.
Yeah, I usually run games. Every once in a while, I do play. But I enjoy the DMing side more than I do actually playing myself. I like the creation aspect of creating the adventure in the world and throwing in things to throw the players for a loop just to see how they react.
I hear that often, and I also hear some GMs don't like they can't help but GM from the player seat, so they're like, I'm just better. I'm not a good player. I might as well just run the game.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I've definitely heard that before. I definitely like playing, but if I only play for a while, then I start getting the bug and the itch to run. So, I feel I definitely need to do both.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
They're making fun of me because we did not replace the dog, but we did acquire a kitten somehow,
Oh.
and he's polydactyl. So I originally thought like he had too many claws that he couldn't retract them all into his
Hmm.
paw, but it turns out that's not the case at all. Because I was looking at him the other day, and his claws were all completely retracted. So so clearly he's just a jerk when he plays with us.
Oh, wow.
Matter of fact, last night I was holding him and he didn't really want to be held.
Hmm.
So he literally latched onto the side of my face either side of my face with his claws, and then
Ouch.
started attacking my nose. It was like only sort of attacking, but his claws were definitely in the side of my face. I'm like, what are you doing, you little nut job?
Wow.
Yeah.
Ouch.
My my wife thinks it's so funny and so cute because he likes stuffed animals, and the
Hmm.
stuffed animals are only a little bit smaller than him, and he likes to carry them around in his mouth. And she's like, "Oh, that's so cute. That's so funny." I'm like, "You see how he's holding it, right? He's got it by the throat."
Oh, wow. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like those his killer instincts. So you said you currently don't have a game going on right now because you're too busy, but you're looking to get back into it.
Yeah, I have a couple offers from the gaming group where I can get down there and start playing. It's just trying to find the time between running the business and also my both of my parents are disabled, so I'm also their caregiver too. So sometimes it's a little rough finding the time to get down there, but I try to get down there as often as I can. Hopefully, I can get down there more often.
Well, there's always online gaming.
Yeah, I've been thinking about dusting off my old fantasy grounds and running some games that way too.
Yeah, Fantasy Grounds is fantastic, and not only that too. I actually like doing both. I didn't think I would, but
Mhm.
after doing it, I find that there's definitely pros and cons to both.
Oh, I agree, definitely. There are some cool things you could do on fantasy grounds that you can't really do in a live group.
Uh,
So
From that, from that aspect, absolutely. Like there's technology things that are very helpful. But then I also just find that gaming online is more focused. So I feel like you get more gaming in a short amount of time.
True. Yep, that's true. Whereas, in a live session, you got a lot of socializing. People haven't seen each other in sometimes a couple of weeks, and so they're, hey, what's going on? You get a lot of that side talk going on too, or new players coming over to check things out. So, yeah.
Now we haven't experienced that much because we usually game almost strictly at someone's house. It used to be, my house, and then eventually when Ted got his house, we kind of switched to playing gaming there. And he's got a really good table for gaming. Basically it's a pool table that he covered.
Oh, okay.
So there's like plenty of room.
Yeah, definitely.
But but our minis and our terrain is very low key. Like most of our gaming is theater of the mind until like actual combat breaks out, and then we'll bust out the minis, and sometimes they'll actually be what they represent, and sometimes not.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear that. I've played that way sometimes. Where we even back in the old days using quarters and dimes, pennies to represent monsters and the players.
Yeah, for us it was D6s and D4s. The players were always D4s, the monsters were D6s, and we just had a grid that we made. We got a carpenter square and a piece of plastic, and just draw our own squares, and then for the longest time, our terrain was mini Kit Kats.
Oh, mini Kit Kats, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, you know what? They were just left over from a Halloween one year, and they ended up on the table. And after a while, they didn't get eaten, so we would just start using them or pencils to build walls and stuff. And every once in a while, you'd get a new player at the table, and we were younger and a bit we were more jerks back then. So the new player would be like, "Oh, Kit Kats! I like Kit Kats. Can I have one?" We're like, "Sure."
Oh, wow.
Now, sometimes at one point, those Kit Kats had been sitting there for like 5 years.
Wow.
So we may have been committing a crime. I don't know. We may have been poisoning somebody. But
did they ever catch on?
Oh yeah! As soon as they bit in, it's like you just see their whole face drop and like, what just happened? I'm like, oh, that's our terrain. They've been there forever. So after a while, it probably very much tasted like eating a piece of terrain.
Probably.
Have you checked out the Tomb of Annihilation yet?
I don't have the book. I did get it on Fantasy Grounds. I've been trying to read through it. I also picked up James Introcasso's Sellers of Death. It's kind of like an intro adventure he wrote for it, and it looks pretty good. So I'm looking at that and possibly maybe running that here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully.
Okay. So when you get something like that, especially now that you've got all these printers, 3D printers going, do you then like automatically want to just print everything out?
Of course. That's always my initial reaction is, oh man, that would be so cool if I can get, Hobgoblin 3D's jungle trees, and then his Mayan ruins, the Aztec ruins from Printable Scenery. I start thinking of all that stuff, and then I'm like, man, it's going to be 3-4 months down the road before I can get all that stuff printed off and paint it real nice. So I'm like, okay, how can I integrate this but yet cut the time down? So
the next adventure will be out.
Yeah.
I guess that is the hard part, is like, the preparation for that stuff. Are you a big module guy, or do you like running your own stuff?
I honestly like creating my own modules and running my own stuff. It's pretty rare that I'll actually run my own modules or campaigns, or run in the pre-published ones, I should say. I do have a lot of that stuff, but I like going through it and stealing ideas and whatnot.
Gotcha. And guys, if you, in the chat, if you have any questions for Keith about 3D printing or terrain, feel free to throw them out there. So when the terrain that you sell, people get that unpainted and just like the rough.
Yeah. So the stuff I sell, yeah, it's all unpainted. Some of it you still have to assemble. Like the Aztec ruins, there's about 10 little bits and pieces for you to put some of the pillars in and whatnot. Usually it's pretty easy at putting it together, though. I've thought about offering a painting service for it, but I'm not really there with the demand, and I don't have a painter that's good enough to paint it that I'm willing to work with just yet on offering pre-painted stuff.
Got you. And I imagine that in its own right is going to be difficult, and it's going to drive up the cost. Zareth Gaming, yes, there's a Stegosaurus. I was pretty sure, but I had to check. Yeah, with the 2 Annihilation, we do get a bunch of new dinosaurs and animals. I thought we probably would have mentioned that in the review we did, considering Ted's love of dinosaurs. I know we definitely mentioned the Brontosaurus. Cool. So, Alexandra, question: what is a good way to incorporate and use terrain for non-combat parts of your game?
You could create dioramas or vistas. Although most of the terrain out there is usually dungeon tiles and buildings right now. Although the new Fat Dragon Kickstarter coming out later this week has hills where you can make your own hills and whatnot. So let's see, what else can you do? You could also print like spell slot tokens. You could use that for player aids. You can make tokens for inspiration.
I did see one use when we were out in LA. Where we're actually lucky. They unveiled something that they'd been working on for a long time for that session, and it was the throne room for Breland and Eberron.
Oh, cool!
And like the detail and the intricates, and there was lights that lit up and controls, and the really cool part was it's Breland, so you know, so their sigil is the bear. And they had all these trophy bear heads on the walls.
Oh, sweet.
But they were magnetized and they could pull off, and you could switch them out with other things.
Oh, that is so awesome.
Yeah, this thing it came in like 4 pieces, and they all weighed like 25 pounds a piece.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're out in LA, right? So they have people that build like sets for a living, or the ones like working on it and building it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was all like plaster and
gotcha.
It was definitely really sweet looking. So there's definitely uses like that. I just imagine if you're doing non-combat with terrain, you're going to want it to be a big scene, where there's going to be a lot of social interaction or exploration going on. Just because the time investment in setting something like that up.
Yeah, true. Definitely.
You're gonna want to play there for a little while. Your players are like, we want to go do this now. Like, no, I just spent 2 hours setting this up. This is what we're doing. I feel like that's like one of maybe one of the drawbacks to terrain is that the GM is going to spend so much time setting up terrain and getting it prepared that it really does kind of lock you into this is the story we're running.
Yeah, to some aspect, I can see where that goes. Especially if you have a really big setup like a dungeon level. I guess that's where you need to, be on the same page with your players as to, are we going to play this mega dungeon? If so, then we'll set it up. Otherwise, you might want to be cut down on your terrain, and maybe if there's going to be a city encounter. Maybe just have a couple buildings, put your Chessex map down underneath that and roll with it like that.
So is that like a kind of conversation that you have with your players before you start, or is it just kind of like an unspoken thing? Keith's running. This is what we do when Keith runs.
They usually know I will incorporate some type of terrain in what we're doing. I usually don't go all out and have the entire adventure all pre-planned out with terrain. I do use a lot of. I still use my Chessex map, so I could draw out stuff there, and then I've got a bunch of terrain over on the walls and shelves that I can bring out if we have like a forest encounter. You know, and we're on the Chessex map. I could draw out a crude little map, throw some trees on there. I get some Spanish moss to throw down as bushes. So, and then we can just go to town just like that. Set up on something like that. It just takes minutes.
And I guess it's like anything too. You just get better with it the more often you do it. So like, you know, maybe something that might be a challenge to a new GM is using terrain. Well, you've been doing it a long time, and your mind instantly goes, "Okay, we're doing this now. Here's what I have," you know, and you're like Bob Ross right on the spot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you know, it's just like improvising with as a DM. It's just another skill you can use, and the more you use it, the better you get at it.
So we do have a printer question from Frigginator. What is the best bang for your buck 3D printer price versus quality?
I would have to say the Prusa MK2S right now, for the quality that it can print out and the price. It's still pretty far up there.
Like even like, you know, different things that I've seen. The 3D printing is crazy. Like they're making buildings with that now.
Oh yeah, they're making all kinds of stuff. 3D printing is touching so many different areas. Even some of the automotive guys like Ford are starting to 3D print car parts. You've got the medical industry starting to use it to create artificial organs and limbs. There's even 3D printers out there to make your own 3D printable eatable pizzas and whatnot. China is building 3D houses. It's crazy.
Yeah, soon we're going to all be obsolete.
Yeah, the 3D printers are going to take over the world.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I saw too is even like cars. Like cars are going to be driving themselves. It's so close. Like, you know, people that drive for a living, they're going to be out of a job.
Yeah, and it's like once the computers and everything catch up, what's the rest of the world going to do for income?
Star Trek Utopian.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't think we're there yet.
No, I don't think so.
Then you know what? Your terrain is going to be obsolete because we're going to just play. We're going to play in the holodeck, and
yeah, it will. I can see that eventually. It will.
They'll still need Fat Dragon Games though to have the models.
Yeah,
until the computers can do it themselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's funny. So, someone had asked Pokemon for what? When does Tome of Annihilation come out? I believe Tuesday it drops. If you don't get it from a network store for Wizards of the Coast, otherwise you could have gotten it like last Thursday or something. So, yep. Which is kind of cool. They do the halfway now, so let's jump into the roll call. Where is everyone weighing in from? Also, if you guys haven't checked it out, the GM tips is up with Satine Phoenix, me, and Ted, which was really good. I was so nervous until I actually watched it because and I was really surprised that it actually lasted as long as it did. Because in my memory, we were like there for 5 minutes. So with me just trying not to vomit on Satine Phoenix. You know, it's funny because we've shot in thousands of videos, but that was the first time we were on a official set. The Nerdarchy set is a bit scaled down in comparison.
Gotcha.
And having to shoot a video with basically an audience there, because you had all the crew there. So there was probably like 15, 20 people hanging out.
Oh wow, yeah.
So it was definitely a good experience. And the show actually came out really well. So I'm very happy with that. We've got Frigginator in Washington. We've got DSDJKK in Georgia. Ferner's in Texas. Tesmic is in Australia. Chris is in Houston, Texas. We've got Tom and Seymour. We got Raven and Oz. We've got Todd in Dallas. Virgilio's in Utah. Comic Book University, the bar with no name. We've got Windsor, Ontario in the house with Rye. We got Shane, New York City. Kyle's in Tatatooine. And Mose Isley. Yeah, Star Wars. Lopez Island with AJ. Dylan is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we've got it jumped. Harlington, Texas with Fenner. Zaref Gaming is in New Mexico. Prue is in Denmark. We got Lincoln in Sweden. We've got Central Coast, California with Sean. Keith is in Atlanta. Patrick is in Sweden. Poison is in Utah. Krahoon is in the United Kingdom. So I want to thank everyone for hanging out with us and tuning in from all over the world. Always the roll call is one of my favorite parts of the show, even though I can't pronounce half of the stuff. So you guys have been around for a while. You already know that. We also got Canada House with Pokemon for What?
Cool.
So do you have any big well, I was gonna say any big projects lined up, but you're just really coming off a big project.
Yeah, I have that one. We're also going to be doing Teagle Manor, 3D printing out Teagle Manor, and that's going to be 4 times the size of this current project. So that'll be coming out next year. I think we're hoping to have it at GaryCon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like, if you start doing these big ones, hopefully these companies will start bringing you out.
Yep, that's the hopes.
that would definitely be nice.
Yeah, definitely.
So you think you'll end up getting recruited to do some running of that game?
I might. And there's going to be another surprise at Gamehole Con. I can't say, but it won't be just that level. We'll just put it like that.
Okay. So there's a little bit of a surprise. Nice.
Yeah. So those going to Gamehole Con, make sure you go by, check out the Frog God area. We'll have a surprise there.
Very awesome. So also you did some work with Lesser Gnome as well?
Yeah, I worked with Zach in the beginning, helping him get the word out when he did his Whisper and Venom box set.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was posting and helping spread the word like crazy back when he was running that Kickstarter. Yeah, so I worked with them on that.
I'm sorry, I get distracted by the chat sometimes.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, because someone made the comment, DSDJKK, about us being on GM tips. He's like, I've never seen you guys in 1080 before, but we shoot in 1080. You know, the camera we have is actually pretty good, and we render in 1080. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing or if it's what you're actually seeing, like when they shoot. Like, I don't know if they're doing 4K or what GM Tips does, but they've got professional grade cameras.
Oh yeah.
It's like a big deal.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, he's with Frog God Rappa Athak. FTW. No, he's not actually with Frog God. He consults with them and is on they brought him in for printing of the mega dungeon. So yeah, so roleplayingterrain.com is Keith's jam. So if you guys are looking for terrain pieces, that's a place where you can go shop around for them.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a leeway between like orders and fulfillment, correct?
Correct. Right now, I'm at about a 2 to 3 week printer queue. So orders that come in now, it'll take 2 to 3 weeks before it gets to the printers. I got more printers on the way, but just trying to keep up with that demand. So yeah, so generally, I would say probably within 3 to 4 weeks, you should have your order. I've been pretty good at getting stuff out. I'm a pretty good.
How many printers you have? You say you got more printers on order?
Yeah, I got more coming. And I have 7 going right now.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, I have to keep adding them because, yeah, the orders are coming in. So, and it takes a while.
Oh, that actually is a good question. DSDJKK, do you offer dice towers? If not, that'd be a good product.
I don't offer them yet, but with Printable Scenery, they have a dice tower set coming out with their Kickstarter they have. And since I'm a licensed printer, as soon as I get that file, it'll be uploaded to the website. So probably within the next 30 days, I'll have dice towers available.
So they're coming.
They are coming.
Zarek Gaming, do you guys think he'll make a terrain for Tomb of Annihilation? Well, we did talk about that a little bit, and the desire is there.
Oh yeah, definitely the desire's there. It's just finding the time to do it. I would love to actually 3D print that, and maybe I will eventually. We'll see.
For the chat, Satine is very cool. Actually, absolutely. Rudy as well. Everybody out there was great. TL, Rudy, Satine. There was so many people we met out there, and I've had a few of them on the show so far, and probably will have even more.
Cool.
But back to the Tomb of Annihilation 3D printing. I had a question, but I just lost it. Sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, I'm easily distracted by things, especially the chat. I'm like that dog from Up. Squirrel.
Gotcha.
So, I know what I wanted to ask. You got 7 printers going now. How many you got ordered?
I have another 3 coming.
Wow.
So, and depending on the orders coming in, I set aside so much on the orders coming in towards getting more printers so I can try and keep that printer lead time down. So, yeah.
What how much space does all those printers take up?
Each printer takes up, I'd say probably about a 2 foot by 2 foot is, with all the space I have around them and everything, probably about 2 foot square area is what they take up.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Nah, it's not.
So do they just like run off your PC or your laptop, or do they have their own like interface?
They run off of an SD card. So I will load up the files and slice it on my PC and then save it over to an SD card, a little mini SD card that gets plugged into the printer.
Cool. Yeah. So basically, like kind of like a camera, pretty much.
Yeah.
With the SD card.
That it is.
And for you guys asking, yeah, Satine and Rudy, I'm sure they'll be back in the future. I've actually just talked to Rudy the other day. Those guys have a ton of stuff going on. Both of them have been on the show. And we also have a video where me and Ted, when we're out there, we just shot with them as well. So you guys can check that out as well. DSDKK question. The guest mentioned he played on Fantasy Grounds. How does he feel a pre-written module compares to his own written material?
For Fantasy Grounds itself? I would probably imagine that's probably what he's talking about.
I think so too. Like the comparison of having to have all your own stuff there compared to, oh, I just downloaded this adventure, buy this adventure, and everything's kind of there.
Gotcha. When I started using Fantasy Grounds, it was back in fourth edition when there wasn't a license for anything. So I'm used to actually creating my own story entries and whatnot. Although I have picked up some of the pre-done modules like Tome of Annihilation, and it is pretty cool. You know, it's got all the stories already done. The encounter maps are ready to rock and roll. So it is pretty awesome. And since now I'm really crunched on time, it's actually looking a little more favorable for me to actually use those products now.
Oh yeah, so one of the things he's saying is like his problem is not having this or that from compared to the pre-written material. I would think though, like everything is in file format, so like if you own a bunch of that stuff, you can kind of just like start picking it apart, right, and just incorporate it into your own adventures.
Oh yeah, even with the Fantasy Grounds module, you can get in there after you load in the campaign, and you can edit and you can change things around.
Yeah, so I would think like even by just buying, because it's funny, like our group never runs pre-written anything, but we like buy everything.
Yep.
Like literally, I was so happy when I used my Store King's Thunder for something, and it was literally I took the pixie dust out of it and used it in a game. So I spent like $50 to use like a paragraph.
That sounds like me. I do that a lot.
The material, I like picking apart the stuff. They all have great maps and stuff like that, and there's always cool things you can cherry pick. Out of the Abyss had great stuff for the Underdark. I actually used that a bit when I was running an Underdark campaign. Tome of Annihilation has great like survival type rules and wilderness rules if you're running a jungle campaign, so that gives you something. And the Tome of Annihilation has other cool things too, like the dinosaur races, how to work the races, and then how to do the betting and stuff.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome.
And you get a bunch of they're messing with Ted even though Ted's not here. He would always call Storm King's Thunder Sky King's Thunder. So we're gonna write that adventure one day, the Sky King's Thunder adventure, maybe for April Fools or something.
Oh, that sounds cool.
Zarif Gaming, I had a player during Storm King's Thunder who smoked the pixie dust. That definitely sounds like something a player would do.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I could see one of my players doing something like that too.
And like that is kind of like the whole point of like us doing the homebrew thing on GM tips, is because like at a certain point, I think we just got beaten in the submission as GMs and like, well, I'm not even going to bother writing anything anymore. You guys are just going to smoke the pixie dust anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So in some ways, the way we run makes it easier because you can't throw the DM off his game if he doesn't have one planned.
True. Yeah, that's true.
Well, Pro has a question. What is the first thing you ever built for a tabletop role-playing encounter? And do you have one piece you are especially proud of?
Wow. Now, is he talking just the 3D or any terrain?
I think any terrain.
Actually, one of the first pieces I'm pretty proud of is using the old Hearst Arts blocks. When I was casting that, I created a fountain using a miniature and some fishing line and some resin to make it look like water. I'm pretty proud of that piece. But that was one of my first pieces I did make of terrain itself. And to this day, the kids still, ooh, that is so cool. Is that fishing line or is that real water? No, that's fishing line. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I did notice. And someone else asked, where was it? Oh, here it is. Kyle, which giant race would you most like to play in an all-giant adventure? Kind of random, but that's a question.
Frost Giants. I like my Frost Giants.
Yeah, you know what? Aesthetically, the Frost Giants and Fire Giants are really cool. But for some reason, I have a soft spot in my heart for stone giants.
Oh, okay. Maybe because they're maybe kind of like the forgotten giant, maybe? Seems like a lot of people don't use those.
And that's like one of my go. I actually use them as NPCs more than anything when I've used them in the past.
Oh wow!
Matter of fact, like one of the first times I killed Ted's character was with a stone giant. They were like a low level party, and it wasn't really meant to be a combat encounter. And I had a stone giant like crashing through the brush, and so Ted's response was to attack it. And they were like I said, they were low level. They were like third level or something, and it just punted him and hit a tree. And he technically died, but we kind of like did a resurrection thing afterwards.
Oh, gotcha! Wow.
Keith Gaspard, same for us. For me, is like giant Vikings. That's what I mean. That's why I like them too. They're aesthetically, they look awesome.
Yeah.
Although the fire giants are the same way. Like I guess like my least favorite giants are probably like the cloud giant.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Aesthetically, they don't look as cool. Storm giant looks cool because the storm giant very much looks like a Poseidon type entity or Zeus or something. And then I just find like hill giants are just kind of lovable.
Yeah.
In an eat your players sort of way.
Yeah. Tasty.
So we're getting close to that time, and I have an appointment right after this I have to run to. So we're going to wrap things up. Guys, in the description, you can find links to Role-Playing Terrain. You can go check out Keith's site. You can go get your own terrain to throw into your own games. And as Keith had said, you can look forward to seeing dice towers in the near future. With that, is there anything you want to say before we go?
No, just happy gaming, everybody, and hope you check out the site. And hopefully I'll see you all at Gamehole Con in this November.
Yes, definitely. If you're going to the games. So with that, guys, until next time, stay nerdy.